Hi, my name is Stephanie with SLP, and this is my 2015 Sierra. Today we're going to be walking through a step-by-step installation of our black wing cold air intake. It's a great truck, we have a lot of fun with it, but it could always use a little bit more power. So let's get started. Before beginning, I went ahead and disconnected the battery ground cable before disconnecting the mass airflow sensor connector. Using a T15 Torx screwdriver, I removed 2 screws from the mass airflow sensor, being sure to set them aside for later use. The mass airflow sensor slid out easily, and I put that aside with the screws. Next, I loosened the clamps that retain the clean air tube to the airbox and throttle body. The quick connect fittings on the driver's and passenger side of the clean air tube needed to be disconnected before I could lift the clean air tube from the engine compartment. The airbox assembly is held in place by 3 barb fittings. I removed it by pulling up. The PCV lines were disconnected and removed from the driver's and passenger's side valve covers. Be sure to set these aside for later use. The last step was to remove the retaining support bracket that stretches between the radiator support and the fender. Both bolts were removed using a 10mm socket. We did have to remove 4 of the pushpins securing the radiator support cover to the engine bay to reach the second bolt. We moved over to our workbench to score the PCV lines in order to remove the quick connect fittings and fit 1 straight quick connect and 1 90-degree quick connect to each of the supplied PCV hoses. Hose clamps were used to attach the fittings. The rubber grommets and fittings were then installed into the clean air tube, and a bulb seal was fit onto the top of the airbox by clipping into the holes along the edges. A J-clip was slid into place, and a grommet was installed on the airbox tray. I wiped down the fender well before attaching the inlet seal. With the seal in place, I pushed the airbox assembly firmly into place, seating the posts into the grommets. An M6 bolt was threaded and tightened into the bottom of the airbox. The filter tube was inserted into the airbox, followed by the air filter, which I fit onto the filter tube before tightening the filter band clamp. The mass airflow sensor was slid into the new filter tube, and the screws were replaced. I then used 2 M8 bolts to attach the filter tube to the airbox. The clean air tube was slid into place before hose clamps were tightened to attach it to the filter tube and the throttle body. I took the new PCV hoses and installed them on either valve cover, connecting them to the clean air tube assembly. The final step was reinstalling the support brace between the core support and fender before pushing the pushpins into the cover.